That sounds fishy. Okay, we're going to get started. I'll ask that everyone takes their seats, and we have quorum. Thank you for the patience. I know we're a few minutes delayed, but we will get started. So I'll call the meeting to order. Good morning and welcome to the April 30th, 2025 Executive Committee meeting. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of the Treaty 4 territory, a treaty signed with 35 First Nations across southern Saskatchewan, parts of Alberta and Manitoba, and the original land of the Cree, Saulteaux, Nakota, Dakota, and the homeland of the Métis. The city of Regina owes its strength and vibrancy to these lands and the diverse peoples and whose ancestors' footsteps have marked the territory, as well as settlers from around the world who continue to call Regina home. Some members of the committee and city administration may be attending the meeting today through video conferencing. I would remind you of the following. Please ensure that your video camera and microphone are turned off. If a member of the committee wishes to speak, use the raise hand function to be placed in the speaker's queue. When speaking, remember to unmute your microphone and enable your video camera, and all votes will be conducted with a recorded vote. The deadline to register as a delegation for reports recommended for consideration by City Council at this meeting scheduled for May 7th is 12 p.m. on Monday, May the 5th. Can I have someone move a motion to approve the agenda at the call of the chair with the addition of the registered list of delegations? Councillor Burton. I will call the question. Any opposed? Seeing none. Move on to adoption of the minutes. Can I have someone please move a motion to adopt the minutes of the public meeting held on April 2nd, 2025? Mayor Baczynski. Any errors or omissions? Hearing and seeing none. I will call the question. Any opposed? It is carried. We'll now consider item EX 2534, the Regina Property Tax Bylaw 2025 and the Education Property Tax Bylaw 2025. Can I have CFO Deputy City Manager Darren Anderson please introduce the report?
Thank you, and through the chair. City Council is required to pass a bylaw annually to set mill rates and to establish property subclasses and applicable mill rate factors. The purpose of this report is to collect and submit for approval the information to be used in preparing the Regina Property Tax Bylaw 2025 and the Education Property Tax Bylaw 2025. We submit it for your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Can I have someone move this report? Councillor Rasevich. Do you wish to speak to it? Okay. Any questions from councillors on this report? Seeing none. Councillor Rasevich, do you wish to close off debate? Okay, I'll ask the clerk to start the vote. Is in favor. Councillor Seeklees and Manzanelli, could you please indicate your vote in favor? Councillor Manzanelli, in favor? Thank you.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, the motion carries with all members present voting in favor.
Thank you very much. We will now consider item EX 2535, the appointment of the Integrity Commissioner. Can I please have City Solicitor Shannon Williams introduce the report?
Thank you, through the chair. The city requires an integrity commissioner because through the Cities Act, we are required to have a process to deal with council member code of ethics violations. And the current code of ethics bylaw that we have with the city of Regina uses an integrity commissioner to investigate and adjudicate those violations. The city needs to appoint a new integrity commissioner at this time because the current integrity commissioner contract expires at the end of 2025, and the current commissioner is not seeking reappointment. The process to find a new integrity commissioner described in the report involves the city clerk and the city solicitor advertising the position and interviewing candidates, as well as making the appointment decision. The recommendations delegate authority to the city solicitor and the city clerk to undertake that process to negotiate and appoint the services of a new integrity commissioner for a 4-year term. In the past, historically, the city has worked with Saskatoon, and we have used the same individual for both the city of Regina and the city of Saskatoon, and that would be the intention, again, with this process, to streamline that process for both cities.
Thank you very much. Can I have someone move the report? Mayor Bashinsky, do you wish to speak to it? Okay, any questions from councillors on this specific report? Seeing none, I will ask, oh, sorry, do you wish to close the debate? Thank you. I'll ask the clerk to start the vote. Councillor Masnelli, in favor? Thank you.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, the motion carries with all members present voting in favor.
Okay, notwithstanding starting late, we're on pace to have the fastest executive meeting in history, so let's keep this momentum up, everybody. We'll now consider item EX 2536, airport route changes. Can I have Deputy Manager Curtis Doney please introduce this report? Go ahead, Curtis.
Through the chair, representatives from the Regina Early Years Family Resource Centre, along with Regina Catholic School Board, approached the City of Regina and requested that a bus stop be installed in front of the building located at 2550 Sandra Schmirler Way. This request is with the intention of making transit more accessible and convenient for families with young children to access the centre. Accordingly, administration proposes to adjust Route 24, the airport downtown route, to improve the accessibilities to this location. And in order to do that, we need to have Route 24 adjusted. The map is shown in your appendices. And to implement any recommended transit route changes, it requires Executive Committee's approval.
Thank you. Can I have someone move this report? Councillor Bizo, do you wish to speak to it? Okay, any questions from members? Seeing none, do you wish to close the debate, Councillor Bizo? Okay, I will ask the clerk to start the vote. Councillor Masnelli? Sorry, I'll look your way quicker next time.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, the motion carries with all members present voting in favor.
Thank you. We'll now consider item EX 2537, transit fare pilot. Can I have Deputy City Manager Curtis Doney please introduce your report?
Through the chair, a bit more information here, just to remind Council of your previous decisions. So at the January 29th, 2025 Council meeting, Council approved a motion for administration to present a report to Council by Q3 of 2025 regarding a fare-free transit pilot for high school students. Council directed administration to identify a high school within Regina that has transit route capacity to adopt a pilot program to increase ridership. The high school must be located on existing transit routes and would not require the purchase of additional buses to complete the pilot. So that's what we're working from. Administration is presenting 2 fare-free pilot options in the report. The recommendation is to implement the fare-free pilot to grade 9 students attending a high school in Regina who are 13 years of age at the beginning of the school year on September 2nd, 2025. The pilot would run from September 2nd, 2025 until December 31st, 2025. Administration is also recommending a verification process for youth 13 and under, where students will need to produce a free pass and scan it on the bus if they're not accompanied by a fare-paying adult. This would help support bus operators who currently have to make judgment calls regarding age eligibility for students and help reduce fare evasion. My team is here, Nathan Looning, Director of Transit, and Krista Forsyth, Manager of Transit Administration, to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Doney. Can I have someone move the report? Councilor Flores, wish to speak to it? Okay. Please go ahead.
Sure, thank you. Through the chair, I was really excited when this was passed and we looked to do this, and I'm looking forward to this moving on and providing transit options for students and removing those barriers to getting to school. So looking forward to supporting this.
Thank you so much. Councillor Turnbull, please go ahead.
Yes, I do have some questions about why we chose option 1 over option 2. Was that based on the financial feasibility? Is that the main factor between choosing option 1 over option 2?
Through the chair, that's the main difference, yes. More cost to implement option 2.
So my understanding from talking to the bus youth is that picking a school and making a pilot project is a little more to the initial intent, to the whole high schoolers. And I was just, I think I would like to make an amendment to consider option 2 for all Johnson College students to meet the further intention to have the actual pilot as intended for one school. I know it costs a little bit more money, but that I believe would serve the intent of the pilot program and see how successful it is versus doing grade 9s all across for our information and return on investment and data points. So I would like to put forward a consideration for option 2.
Thank you, Councillor Turnbull. Thanks, Councillor Turnbull. Just as a reminder, we have, if anyone would like to, you can have 3 minutes to speak to the amendment or ask administration or Councillor Turnbull questions. Would anyone like to speak to this amendment? Councillor Rasevich, sorry, please go ahead.
It's not that, through the chair, not to speak, I guess, to the amendment, but just again, my question would be, okay, where are we finding the money? Like, we continually seem to want to do things, if it's 30,000 or 50,000, and where do we find the money? You know, we continually cannot keep asking taxpayers to foot the bill unless we find within our 841 million to decrease something else. So I'd like to separate, I would rather have a motion, maybe we separate the fact that we have these passes where, because the bus drivers, I'm sure they get stressed out, you know, because they're trying to figure out, hey, are you 13 or under or not? And so I would agree with putting that, something like that in place for sure, so it makes it easier for the bus driver to understand, okay, you're 13 and under because you got a pass that proves you're 13 and under, so you get a free ridership, which makes it less stressful for the driver for sure. You know, so I don't know if this.
So just, Councillor Rasmus,
I want to
just make
separate
sure,
those two things.
Yeah, sorry, just please make sure you're speaking to the amendment, but if you're looking to, you know, separate the vote, or you're looking for us to vote on something else, you know, we can get to that.
Okay, I guess my question is this, are we voting, it sounds like a package deal about getting the 13 and under with some ID to show that they are 13 and under?
Well, what we're voting on, Councillor Rasevich, is administration has brought forward this, and there's 2 options. Option 1 of which they've recommended, and Councillor Turnbull has proposed an amendment whereby option 2 would see us have a pilot for all students at Johnson, which to my knowledge would be assessed and analyzed in a similar fashion to option 1, and yes, there's cost implications there. So do you have a question to administration on the cost? You started off asking about, you know, where we may find the resources for this. Is that maybe, do we want to start off with that question?
Sure, I guess we start with that, and where are we going to find the money?
Through the chair, so whether it's option 1 or option 2, it's unbudgeted money, and so it would be varianced, meaning that we would be over budget at the end of the year.
Yeah, okay. And I guess my second question is, because we're about these passes, because you brought up about these passes to create less stress for the bus driver, so that the students can, when they come on the bus, they show, hey, I'm 13 and under. Like, is this?
Through the chair, Yeah, what you're referring to is correct, and that's recommendation number 2. And so on purpose, we broke out recommendations 1 and recommendations 2, so that depending on what you want to vote on, if you're just focused on the pass for 13 and under, that would be recommendation number 2.
And Councillor Rasovich, just process-wise, at this point, we're speaking specifically to Councillor Turnbull's amendment. Just from a process perspective, I think your first question was fine. So as a reminder, we're speaking at this point, questions to administration or comments related to Councillor Turnbull's amendment. Depending on how that amendment is voted on, we can go back to the main motion after.
Sure.
Sorry, Councillor Bizo, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much through the chair. More of a question for Councillor Turnbull for the amendment as it's written right now. Between option 1 and option 2, option 1 just kind of opens it up. Option 2 is kind of restrictive. And as I reading through this, is an opportunity cost, so it's a lost revenue stream. So we're not actually out of pocket. So there is not a bunch of dollars that were anticipated coming in, and you're not spending a bunch when you look at, you know, the approximate revenue losses. But for option 1 and option 2 itself, why specifically target Johnson, not open this whole thing up?
Oh, sorry.
Wrong way.
Sorry, go ahead, Councillor
Okay,
Turnbull.
well, option 2 speaks to the spirit of the initial intent to the motion to our delegates, where they spoke about having jobs. For example, going to your work on the bus. And that's not 13-year-olds. And it was also trying to have a pilot program to see how it would work for a certain age group for schools. And option 2 meets this intent that we voted on with the advocates. And it is that wider age group to see how those different age groups would do that. So it makes a better data point, as you can appreciate those, why can't I remember your favorite thing, FYIs?
KPIs.
KPIs, that's what I'm searching for, KPIs. So I believe that if you had it at one school, you could have more of a KPIs, you could have more engagement with the school, and you can make it more of a thing. Where with option 1, it could sort of become more of a wash for one age. For option 2, we will get more data. We will see if this helps some of these teenagers with their jobs and this. And I think it's just more data rich, more of a tell. And yes, it is a little bit more overhead, but I think it meets the more original intent. And I did speak to some of the transit advocates and Better Butts Youth. And I asked the questions, and they had said that option 2 would serve the intent better.
Okay, the one thing that I'm going to say, I'll comment on, and maybe toward the administration when we talk about this data. Right now, we've heard other cities are collecting data, but we have no idea what we're doing as far as this data collection, right? The delegation came, they spoke specifically about their KPIs. They're going to get jobs, they're going to go to school more, they're going to get better attendance and higher marks. We have no way of tracking this. This report states there's no way of tracking this at all. All we're doing is saying we're giving free bus passes based upon you're telling me you're going to go to school and you're going to get better marks, but we have no way of tracking it. So I'm going to, take that back as more perhaps engagement with administration and the school to actually start tracking and having a tangible KPI instead of just throwing this out here, that there's some tracking mechanism.
And Councillor Bizo's, just for reference, administration in the report has indicated that attendance records in concert with the school boards will be provided so that we can look at a correlation or causation between these transit passes. I know you mentioned that in the past. So any specific questions to administration or comments related to this specific amendment now, which is option 2? And for clarity, both of which include Johnson. We're talking about grade 9 at Johnson? Sorry, 1 second, please. Perhaps I'll check with administration then. Mr. Doney, are we looking at, for clarity, grade 9 at Johnson or all of Johnson vis-a-vis option 1 and option 2?
Through the chair, option 1 looks at all high schools for kids that are 13 on September 2nd, 2025. So not all grade 9 students, but you have to be 13 on September 2nd. Option 2 is all Johnson High School students.
Thank you for the clarity. So as it relates to the amendment, just for clarity for all of us in terms of what we're voting on. So now as it relates to this, I should go back to you, Councillor Bezo. Do you have any other questions or comments?
No, just specifically on this KPI aspect, if we're talking that we're going to be collecting this information for purpose of determining what this looks like down the road, I want to make sure we have a clear message of what we are looking at for data collection, not I'm going to go to school. We need to have a clear point of reference to say, you know, high school is attended more, marks are going up, and we're getting better jobs, or some kind of job as a result of this pilot program. If we're going to put this kind of money for an investment, we got to see something in return.
Okay, Mr. Doney?
Through the chair, so I agree it's very important to have measurables and KPIs for this, and that's why we've got this section on pilot measurables. Those are the measurables that we expect that we can collect. We've talked to the school boards. We cannot get grades. We cannot get anything about jobs, but we can get overall ridership. We can get bus pass redemption. We can get attendance records and the financial impact. And so I'd encourage council to make a decision based on those 4 measurables.
Thank you very much. I do have one question, seeing no other lights. Building on Councillor Turnbull's, the idea of a pilot project, of course, is to look at those data points and to give us some guidance as to how successful the pilot was, recognizing that these young people are aspiring to have a more broadly accessible and affordable bus passes, in this case free for the whole city. So the question to administration, given that you recommended option 1, in your view, which of the 2 options allows us, given that we're doing a pilot, to collect the right type of data to inform what we do next, right? So undoubtedly there's cost implications. There's 48 grand in foregone revenue in option 2 and some operational cost. But really, given that this is a pilot, my question is, which option is best as a pilot to inform future recommendations and a future path forward?
Through the chair, so that obviously depends on where council wants to go with potential fare-free transit. If council wants to consider fare-free transit for high school students, then option 2 gives you that better data source. Option 2 does include an additional bus, but we don't need to buy. We have an additional bus that we can use short-term. But if you're considering fare-free transit for high school in the future, that is a significant cost impact with many buses that would have to be bought in the future. So just depends on where council wants to go in the future.
Thank you, and understanding that we're not going to debate that necessarily today. My last question is just picking up on Councillor Rasovich's question. In your estimation, given that we've sort of passed the budget, if we were to do option 2 and collect the data that Councillor Bezo spoke to, are you comfortable that we can absorb the costs associated with that option in the current budget?
Through the chair, no, we cannot absorb it. It'll be over budget, and then corporately, we would see where we're at, whether we're over or under expenditures. And so, as an example, tomorrow at A&F committee, we'll see where we landed at the end of 2024, and that will be the same case for the future budget, future year.
Mayor Bashinsky, please go ahead.
Thanks to the chair. I was just wondering if there would be an opportunity, or if it would be an opportunity to meet with the school boards and see if they would have any, any desire to play a part in this at all to help us out with some of the financial impacts, given the outcomes that we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, the clerk has just advised me that this might be something that we would want to add as an agenda item to School Board Council Liaison Committee, but I guess looking for guidance based upon Mayor Bashinsky's point, which I certainly agree with, procedurally, given that we're talking about option 2, how might we give direction or indicate that we'd like to explore a cost sharing or collaborative relationship with the school boards as it relates to option 2? Please go ahead.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. So Councillor, we could ask Councillor Turnbull if she is in support of that, if she'd be willing to withdraw this motion so that that new motion could be put onto the floor as an amendment to give direction. And if not, then we would consider this amendment and vote on it and go back to the main motion at that time. another motion can be put on the floor.
Okay, so hearing, if I understand you correctly, there is an option to look at, there is a way in which we look at option 2, but we explore whether there's opportunities to cost share and collaborate with the school boards to do that. And in order to do that, we'd have to withdraw this motion and give administration the ability to do that work, if I understand correctly. Yeah, please go ahead.
So,
Sorry, just through you, Deputy Mayor. The other thing I would suggest that the community may want to consider with respect to that is if they are interested in going that way, they may want to ask administration what implications there may be to table their decision on this until such time as they've been able to consult with the School Board City
Okay.
Council Liaison Committee on option number 2.
First, I'm going to recognize Mayor Bashinsky, and then I'll go to administration. Please go ahead, Mayor.
Yeah, I want to clarify. So I would be in support of option 2, but I would look to actually just add an agenda item here to say that we would, I don't want to hold up the pilot because of the timing potentially, but I would want to add an agenda item to look for an opportunity to talk with the school board committee. I see Mr. Doney, I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Okay, Mr. Doney, please go ahead.
Through the chair, I just think it's important for council to have all the information. So I'll ask Mr. Luning to give an overview of the conversations we've had with school boards. We've had lots of talks with the school boards already.
Sorry, we'll go here first, and I'll come back to you, Councillor Turnbull.
Through the chair, so we've had several conversations with the school boards in regards to a fare-free pilot, and the conversation around financial contribution has come up several times, and they've stated each time that they have no resources to contribute to a pilot at this time.
So, Councillor Turnbull, you have a point of clarification?
I was just going to say the school board liaison meets in about 2 weeks. I am on that committee. And I would be happy to leave that as be, not hold it up, but say that we would bring it up as an agenda item, just to ask. So like I don't think I would put the school as a determining factor, but we definitely can put it on the agenda for the meeting, which I think is like 2 weeks from now.
Thank you. And just through to administration, if I may, were those conversations with the school board had at the management level, or have we to date seen this at the trustee level, given Councillor Turnbull's offer?
Through the chair, my understanding it's been at the management level.
Okay.
And so then if council wanted to have that at the trustee level, I think the school board liaison committee is the good path for that.
We can look up the date for that, put in the amendment, but I can bring it up at the school board liaison meeting, which I believe is in 2 weeks or so. Okay.
So what we have now is an offer and I think a clear alignment to approach through the liaison committee at the trustee level to see if there's an interest in co-sharing the costs that would allow us to pilot an entire high school. But what we have now is a vote on this amendment for option 2, and so we don't have certainty on that yet. So we need a vote on this. And then quite clearly, this is a pilot, right? We're not necessarily doing this forever. The pilot is intended to gather all the data outlined here. So we're going to vote on option 2, and there has been an offer which we will execute to engage the trustee level to see if there's an interest in cost sharing. I hope that they would, given the opportunities associated with that pilot. It seems to me like they could view that favorably. But at this point, unless there's any other questions related to option 2, we should likely move on, sort of the amendment rather, we should likely move on to a vote. But I will recognize the acting city clerk. Please go ahead.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, just understanding the intent as you've outlined it just now, I do I would suggest that verbiage be included in this, so that it is clear that, this item would be brought forward to the School Board City Council Liaison Committee for consultation with them on the potential of a cost-sharing agreement with respect to this. I think that should be in the motion.
May 13th.
Councillor Rasevich on the amendment? Is this specific to the amendment? Okay, thank you. Okay, so we now have, we are going to insert language specific to the amendment that we will, the May 13th, approach the school boards to cost share and partner formally with us on this pilot, so that we can not only collaboratively absorb the cost, but collaboratively deal with the data. And unless there's anything else, I think at this point we'll vote on this amendment. You do get to close. Thank you for the reminder. Please go ahead, Councillor Turnbull.
Just speaking to this amendment, I think this is the best way to go and the best opportunity. This way we can really have the comparables, even from like a methodology where you've got one school to compare to the other schools to see different ridership levels. You have the control group and the non-control group. And you also have the larger intent of the motion and the feedback of the advocacy groups that this would be better. But on top of that, you have some marketing and engagement and education opportunities when you are focusing on one school and one committee, and with some engagement. And I do believe that this would be more effective, even if you're talking about future purchases and costs, because those are important factors if we were to move forward with a larger program. So it is important to note what costs may happen and what bumps may happen if we do have this for a full school. And this option does that. It aligns with the intent. Let us look at more factors, and it's a truer pilot program, and it meets the requirements. So that's why I would support that. I definitely will bring it along with the mayor and Councillor Zakiniak at the school board liaison meeting in May to see if there's any opportunities there. Whether it's cost sharing or maybe even just engagement and communication. But I think it will be easier if it's just one school and meets the intent, much more than the other way. So that is why I'm asking for option 2.
Thank you very much, Councillor Turnbull. Councillor Seekleys, we've closed debate. You'll still have an option to speak to the main motion as amended when we get to that. So I'm going to keep your light flashing, but we are going to call the vote for this amendment, please. Councillor Seekleys, just waiting on your vote on the amendment. If you're looking for clarification, please go ahead, Councillor Seekleys.
Yeah. Maybe it's easier if I tell you what my intent is and you tell me which way I would go. I'm only in favor of option 2 if there's cost sharing. So we won't know that till after the meeting. So am I approving something whether we're getting cost sharing or not?
Yes.
Yes.
And we've heard that there's no money for cost sharing already from conversations.
What we've heard is at the management level, they have said they don't, that, management doesn't have the discretion or current budget, but much like council, trustees would have the authority to determine whether they like to cost share or not. So this would direct us through the committee to work with the school boards at an elected level to seek a cost sharing mechanism. So yes, if you vote for this, you are voting for option 2, regardless of whether we're successful with that effort. Well, we'll finish with Councillor Seekleys first, please. Okay, Councillor Turnbull is going to speak specifically to Councillor Seekleys' point of clarification.
Meet with the school board liaison. There's physical costs, but we can also ask for costs of them promoting it and doing the education and the awareness and the publication. So when we meet with the trustees, yes, we'll ask for funding, but we can also ask for support in terms of resources and promotions. So, and I think that I feel pretty confident that there
I
would
think
be
we're going to cut this off because we're getting back into the lively debate. Your point's well made. We're going to seek various options to cost share. That is not guaranteed, but we'll make our best effort. So you're voting now on option 2, regardless of whether we get the money or not. Any other questions, Councillor Seek?
Thank you for the clarification.
No problem at all. Okay, we're going to start the vote, please. Or finalize the vote. So we're just waiting on your vote, George.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, the amendment is carried 7-3, with the following members voting in favor as follows. Councillor Turnbull, Sickles, Flores, Fro, Radins, Mancinelli, and Mayor Bashinsky. And the following voting against are Councillors Burton, Bezo, and Rasevich.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to go back to the main motion as amended. So similarly, if there are questions or comments, now you will have the ability to do so. The main motion as amended, I'll open it up to the floor. I don't see any questions on the main motion as amended, so I will call the vote. Well, we have to the closer. Sorry, thank you for the reminder. Councillor Flores, do you wish to close debate? Please go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm glad to see the amendment. I think the intent of and the consultation with the community members that supported this and seeing that how this pilot will impact one school and then moving forward if that would be feasible for other schools. I see this as a positive thing. I think it increases the ability for youth to have access to public transit even if they don't have the money to do so. In the long term, I think it will create good public transit usage habits. It would, I think, create more inclusive spaces as well, because we are allowing those who may not be able to have the money to get a bus pass to not just go to school, but work, community events, all kinds of things. So overall, I think this is a really positive move. When we're talking about the budget in, yes, as a consideration, I do keep in mind, but I also want to think big picture and long term, how this would positively impact our community. And I see this as an investment that I think would pay forward in the future as our ability to not only increase transit ridership, but also make our students feel like we are thinking about their well-being and making sure they're included in community through things like this. So I am happy to support this.
Thank you very much, Councillor Flores. Councillor Rasevich, we've closed debate on this now. So unless it's a point of clarification, we'll unfortunately have to call the vote, please.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, the motion is carried 9-1, with the following members voting in favor as follows. Councillors Burton, Bezo, Turnbull, Sickles, Flores, Fro, Radins, Mancinelli, and Mayor Bashinsky. And the member voting against is Councillor Rasevich.
Thank you very much. At this point, I'd like to call on delegation related to EX 2538. I'd like to call upon Aura Lee McPherson, please, to join us here at the front. Welcome. Thank you for coming and welcome. Please introduce yourself for the record, the organization you're representing, if any, and where you live. You'll have 5 minutes to address us here at Executive Committee, after which there may be some questions from my colleagues. Please go ahead.
I'm here. Usually I sit all day, so thank you very much. My name is Aura Lee McPherson, and I'm a resident of Regina, but we also have the privilege of having a cottage at Katepwa. I also chair the Calling Lakes Eco Museum. The Calling Lakes Eco Museum is a grassroots organization, and we believe at holding the global temperature at 1.5 degrees. We use the United Nations 17 Goals of Sustainable Development as our guide, and we are grounded in decisions of the 4 pillars of sustainability, which is economy, environment, culture, and social values. I'm here to support the toxic spill report and to give you a very big thank you. I'm sitting here today because we had a stalled rain event that caused 28 beaches to be closed in the Copal Valley due to high E. coli levels on July 1st, 2014, so just over 10 years ago. It wasn't just an environmental issue, it was a cultural shock for us. It happened on our biggest day of gathering. It was Canada Day. The moment that should have brought us together became a big warning of what we had to lose. It happened, had that rain happened at any time other than that, those of us downstream wouldn't even have noticed it. But we did notice it because our culture of coming together was robbed from us. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Over the next 5 years, we had many difficult conversations with the City of Regina. And I want to share, I had my hands on my hips for most of those conversations. They were hard, messy discussions about pollution that flows downstream. Most of the conversations were about the City of Regina's culture of turning the valve and sending pollution downstream. But here is the good news. That 2014 rain event sparked something very powerful. It lit a fire that led to real change. And today I'm here to say that this story has a really good ending. They should make a movie of this. The city stepped up, past councillors and mayors. Your leadership made a difference. I want to especially thank city managers like Kim Onright, who was here before, Shelley Wellman, and Curtis Donnelly, who not only listened, they stepped up and rolled up their sleeves and got to work. I am grateful for the work that has been done in the toxic spill report. I'm most grateful because we have become neighbors. We are not fighting anymore. We are neighbors. Secondly, we really like the transparency of the document because we can go to it and see what has been done, and that gives us confidence. And we really like the partnership that the city is working on, especially working with the scientists at the U of R collecting data, what's going on downstream. We would like to give you an award, and that hasn't been easy. I've phoned a couple times, but we really want to give you an award. And the reason we want to give you the award is because anytime it's a green day down in the valley, you get blamed. The City of Regina gets blamed. And I have to jump in front of the bus and say, stop it. The City of Regina has done a really, really good job. So it goes back to what was said by Councillor Turnbull. You can't hoard knowledge. This document is very powerful, building community confidence. So by giving you an award, we can break that cycle.
About 30 seconds, please.
30 seconds. You're doing an amazing job. Thank you for your leadership, innovation, and your commitment to protecting our shared waters. This investment doesn't just clean waters, it builds relationships, it builds communities, and it's for generations to come. You are doing an amazing job. Keep going.
Well, thank you so much for such positive and collaborative comments. Councillor Rasevich and I were talking just before today about paddling the Copal River and the interconnectedness, right, of our lake systems, and of course we have such fragile ecosystems. So I applaud you for your advocacy and thank you for your comments. I think we'll always accept an award around here. That sounds lovely. Let's find a time to do that. I think first I'll recognize Councillor Rasevich, please.
Through the chair, thanks, Councillor Fro. Yeah, I just actually kayaked down from Regina down to Lumsden on Sunday. And it was amazing. You know, it's funny, like even when I go by, I guess our facility where we clean the sewage, I was going by it and I was going, I was wondering, am I going to smell anything? You know what? Didn't smell a thing. It's clean, and so just want to say, the creek's looking great, and I read that report as well, and I was looking at the concentrations.
Notwithstanding our award and how happy we are, you probably do have to ask a question.
I got to ask a question. So anyways, I forgot my question, but thanks.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Councillor Turnbull, please go ahead.
Can I just bounce in and say, the city of Regina should be very, very proud, and you should blow this up. You should not leave this on the shelf. Winnipeg is not doing this. Halifax is just cleaning it up. Victoria just cleaned, like, you're doing an incredible job. So don't hoard that knowledge. Let the people know about that.
Thank you so much. Councillor Turnbull, please go ahead.
Thank you. My question would be, can I give you an award for being so wonderful? No, thank you so much for being here and for being here for such a positive, wonderful reason. It's not easy sitting here for a long period of time, and to sit there to say something kind is wonderful. So thank you so much, and I would like to give you an award.
Oh, thank you.
All
I
right,
already
so-
won Citizen of the Year, so I'm pretty good.
I'm gonna give some leeway since we don't have questions. I think, just in concurrence, and to wrap up, thank you for your comments. I think it's good for us as council to hear when administration does such good work around transparency, around sustainability. We're all connected as neighbors, as you say, and so many Regina citizens also enjoy our valleys and lakes and rivers. So I appreciate your presentation, and you can return to the gallery.
So we'll work on a time for that presentation?
Absolutely, we will.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
that's lovely.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll cancel one of these meetings and just head out to the lake for the day, right? When it's supposed to be 29 degrees on Friday? Never mind. All right. Thank you for addressing our committee. We'll now consider item EX 2538, toxic spills published disclosure. Can I please have Deputy City Manager Curtis Doney introduce the report? Please go ahead.
Through the chair, thank you very much. So this report is in response to CR 21-131, disclosure of toxic spills and leaks, which was directed administration to be more transparent regarding the City of Regina's wastewater source control program, our creek sampling, and notification of spills in the environment and the sewer system. As such, this report provides an update on the work completed in the previous year. The city has a sewer source control and spill reporting program in place. These programs are continually advancing to meet the requirements of the regulators and best practices. This work has directly improved the quality of wastewater entering the wastewater treatment plant and the treated water entering the environment. Environmental and spill reporting processes are complex and require a significant amount of interpretation by the appropriate experts. Administration has a team to do this work, and we are very happy to report that in 2024, there were no incidents that required notification to downstream users. Conversations and annual meetings are held to improve the relationships with Indigenous groups, downstream users, special interest groups, and the university. Administration believes that the reports and the work that is completed have had a significant increase in our transparency and public access to information on the city's wastewater and stormwater systems. We appreciate the acknowledgement from the delegation of the work that we've done, and we are here to answer any questions. The team is here, Carolyn Killeen, the Director of Water, Waste and Environment, and Shelley Wellman, the Manager of Environmental Services.
Thank you. Mr. Doney, recognize Councillor Burton.
Thank you, through the chair. So I was reading the very first line in the report here, illegal dumping and storm drain, where a company was observed in 2023 dumping into the storm sewer, and multiple attempts to observe, I don't know if they actually saw them, in 2024, and then they were caught again in 2025, and it's mystery carpet cleaning company. I realize there's some legal things that need to happen, but the city makes some mistakes sometimes, and the city will appear in the newspaper before any type of thing happens because we've made a mistake. And here we seem to be always tippy-toeing around, calling out a company that's obviously, and I'm going to say because it caught multiple times here, obviously ignoring the laws, flouting the laws. And I'd like to take the report, roll it up, and rub their nose in what they're dumping and swat them with it. And so why do we always vaguely refer to it? And I realize there might be charges or something like that needs to happen, but why are we not being more firm with somebody, with a group I'd call, repeat offender? Thank you.
Mr. Mr. Doney?
Through the chair, very, very good question, and I'll start, and I might ask legal to assist a little bit, but education is obviously the most important thing, and so we do that as much as possible to educate residents and businesses of what they should and shouldn't put down their storm sewer and their wastewater sewer, which is maybe new for some people, that you can't put everything down your wastewater system. When we do catch residents, we ask them to either solve the solution or fix the situation. And if they do that, then that's great. If they don't, then we start to go down the path of escalation and fines. You will see in this report some names named, and those are individuals that we have gone through the entire process, legal process, and collected money back from them. And so that's kind of the process that we would go through. Our objective is not to blame and shame individuals. Our objective is to have behavior changed. And I'll just ask legal if they could give a bit more maybe risk conversation on what occurs if we don't do things properly.
Mr. Williams, please go ahead. Ms. Williams, rather. Sorry.
Thank you, through the chair. Yes, as Mr. Doney has indicated, typically the first process in any type of a legal process is compliance, and we try to get compliance, particularly in environmental issues such as this, is that the most positive outcome is when education occurs and people begin complying with the law, because that impacts on future action and creates better environmental impact in the future. Litigation is expensive, and there's financial implications for going through that process, but when it's necessary and we can't gain compliance, then we do go through that process, and you'll see in the report that that process has been undertaken in some situations. So there is sort of a process that's followed in these types of situations, but the first main course of action is typically to try and gain compliance.
Okay, so thank you. So through the chair, I get we're not coming down heavy at the start. Sometimes people just don't know. But is there, and if this is, now we're just going through that, might there be in next year's report saying we successfully prosecuted company ABC? And yes, I do want it public knowledge. They go to court, they get a fine or whatever happens, and nothing really happens from it. I do want it known. I don't want public shaming or stuff like that, but I do think at some point in time, when you're a repeat offender and we have to take necessary action, maybe a bit of negative advertisement might be a bit of deterrence. Thank you. Just a question if there might be another section to give successful prosecutions.
Okay, if I hear correctly, there's a question to administration in the future. Is there a plan and is it appropriate for us to publicly list those that have had transgressions and violations?
And been successfully prosecuted.
Been successfully prosecuted. Mr. Doney, please go ahead.
Through the chair, yeah, so there's a process in place already, and so if you look at Appendix C, Table 3, there's a list of claims submitted there, so that when the incident has been tied back to an individual company, they are listed in that document there, and so basically we have a process in place, and we will continue with that process once we are at a point where we have identified the individual company or the individual entity responsible for any dumping.
And they are listed there. Okay.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Burton. I'll recognize Councillor Rasovich. Please go ahead.
Chair, administration, just wondering, because I'm looking at the map in terms of a storm drain, we have heavy rains, and if people are dumping, say, oil or gasoline into the storm drain, that doesn't get treated. That doesn't end up getting treated, does it not?
Through the chair, that is correct, and it's an excellent observation for yourself and for council and for the public. So everything that goes into the storm drain goes directly into our storm channels and directly into Wascana, either lake or creek. So there is zero treatment.
Zero.
So it's very, very important that you're not putting oil, gas, anything that shouldn't, clean, rainwater and snow melt is the only thing that should go down our storm drains.
I guess my next question is, so if there's a major spill, some tanker spills and it ends up going into the storm drain, what is our mitigation? What's our process to prevent it getting into Wascana?
Yeah, through the chair. So it really depends on the situation. However, if it's on our roads, for example, and a accident happens and diesel fuel is flowing, our first step is to control the situation or the location. So we will try to prevent it from getting into storm drains by putting in some kind of a barrier. If it's in the storm drain already, then we go to the outlet to try to reduce the risk of it actually going into the creek. If we can't prevent it from there, then we go downstream. This is more significant, where we would have barriers that would be on top of the creek and that would absorb any kind of material that would float on top of the water. Every step is more escalation, and fire department would be involved to help us as we get into larger spills.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Recognize Councillor Mazzanelli. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, I guess first off, I just really wanted to say thank you. To have a delegate step up and speak that way of your work is noticeable, so very well done. Thank you very much. The questions asked today sprung one question. Maybe I'm wasting everyone's time, but I needed to know the answer. Every year we flush the fire hydrants and we have water main breaks. Reading through the report, I notice much attention paid to chlorinated water hitting the freshwater system. How do we mitigate that when we do our own maintenance work or have our own water main breaks if we're paying that much attention to chlorinated water hitting the stormwater system? Through the chair.
Through the chair, that is something also that is relatively new in the last 5 to 10 years, is we have dechlorination pucks, and so we put that in upstream of the storm drain, and so we dechlorinate that water before it hits the storm drain or the receiving body.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, I don't see any other questions. Councillor Burton, would you like to close debate? Please.
Very quickly, as our delegation said, downstream awareness of what the city is doing is very important and helps with the reputation of the city. And I'm pleased to see such reporting come forward from the city.
Thank you. I'll ask the clerk to start the vote.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, the motion is carried with all members present voting in favor.
Thank you. We will now consider item EX 2544, 2025 expenditure reduction. Can I have CFO, Deputy Manager Darren Anderson, please introduce the report?
Thank you, and through the chair. During council's deliberations of the 2025 budget, administration was directed to reduce expenditures by 1.55 million. Since then, administration has undertaken an exercise to determine where these savings will be realized. This report provides an overview of how administration will achieve those savings for the remainder of 2025. Administration has identified 8 items where the 1.55 million in savings will be found. One item is from the removal of the federal consumer carbon tax that came into effect on April 1st, 2025, providing $600,000 in savings that has not been reflected in the 2025 budget. 3 items will impact internal services for a total of $280,000, and 4 items will impact public-facing services for a total of $677,650. We submit the report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anderson. I'm going to move this report and speak first to it. At this point, I'm going to provide a notice of motion that on May 7th, I will be bringing forward a reconsideration motion. And the purpose of that reconsideration motion is to allow administration and council to look at what has been recommended to be reduced and the amounts to be reduced. And we can discuss that at that time. So the items were listed in the package. The purpose of the reconsideration motion is to look specifically at the areas that we're recommending be reduced and certainly the amounts. I'm going to go to Acting City Clerk to give us some procedural guidance, please.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, I just wanted to make sure that the committee members understand procedure in this regard. So Councillor Fro had just indicated that he's giving notice. That notice will not be given until Friday when the May 7th agenda is published, which will then mean that when that item is considered by council on May 7th, it is just to give notice unless members of council wish to waive notice, which would require unanimous consent of council at that meeting. If unanimous consent is not received, it would then be debated at the next city council meeting. So I just wanted everyone to understand that notice isn't officially being given at this meeting. It will be given when the agenda is published for the May 7th meeting on Friday.
Into a deficit.
Just remind them that we're not questioning that.
Yeah.
But they just passed it, right?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, thank you very much, Amber, and thanks for that clarity. So at this point, there's still an opportunity to ask questions. This is a receive and file, but if you have questions for administration, now would be the time to. So recognize Mr. Anderson. Please go ahead.
Thank you. And through the chair, administration just wants to remind council that, as we pass the bylaw, hopefully this afternoon or a special council meeting, that 1.55 is built into the budget, into the mill rate that will be passed. So we can discuss what is in that bucket, but we can't change that bucket once the mill rate's been set without having other sources of funding.
The acting city manager. I'll recognize the acting city manager. Go ahead, Mr. Nicol.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So, just to put it in clear understanding for council, or for executive, later today, you will be considering the bylaws to implement the 2025 budget that I believe you considered earlier this morning. A savings of 1.55 has been built in. What Mr. Anderson is saying is it doesn't have to be these 1.55. So administration, if you are giving notice and saying, whoa, we're not really comfortable with these, I take that as your direction. But we will have to find 1.55 from somewhere, perhaps even a reserve if that was what was required. So I'm just telling you that the bylaw or the report that you heard earlier this morning about implementing the budget, the meal rates, if you pass that this afternoon at the conclusion of this meeting, that's great. That is your prerogative. We will come back with other options to find this to identify the 155. We just want to make sure you understand it remains your prerogative, and we hear you. These may not be palatable.
Thank you. So understanding correctly, notwithstanding what I said, there is no ability given where we're at this juncture to adjust the amounts associated, but we can look at where those reductions come from, and administration will make sure, and I will make sure my notice of motion sort of reflects that guidance. Thank you. At this point, I will recognize Councillor Turnbull. Please go ahead.
Okay, some of this is probably a point of clarification. So is this the time to ask questions about these items, even if we're going to receive and file it? Or would that be when there's a future motion?
Well, I think I've given notice that we're going to look to administration to provide us with other options, but I think you can absolutely ask questions about why those options were included and anything else for that matter related to expense reductions in this report.
Okay, so this would be the appropriate time to ask. So I did want to ask about the reduced downtown public washroom facility operations. I wanted to know, it said there will be no increased security, if that meant that there was going to be increased security and now there's not, and the janitorial and maintenance services for the downtown public washroom. So I did want to, I guess, a little more detail, but maybe that's something that's coming. Okay.
Ted, please go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, yeah, those topics are correct, and Jamie Hansen is here, who, Director of Fleet Facilities and Fleet, who will can provide details on the mechanics of what all that means.
Sure. Through the chair, the reduction in services for the downtown washroom would mean there would be no increase to the security services provided beyond what was provided last year. We'd be looking at reducing the services for the downtown washroom in order to realize these savings.
So what was it identified that there was more security needed and that is why it's being cut?
Through the chair, that is correct. The original ask for 2025 budget was for standing security during the opening hours of the washroom from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So the reduction would reduce those services.
And is there safety concerns currently which had started, which had, I guess, brought that about downtown?
Yeah, through the chair, I think through best practices and what we've learned in operations of this washroom, our recommendation was that we would provide security during the opening hours of the downtown washroom. So that's why the request was in the budget for 2025.
And then the janitorial and maintenance services, knowing that this is a public downtown washroom and we're looking for vibrancy downtown, would that be a cut or just, we all know how it is to go in a dirty washroom, right? So like what would that be like?
Yes, through the chair, those services would be reduced as well. So the custodial services would be less frequent, and we'd anticipated a certain level of maintenance and repairs as a result of the use of the washroom, and that allowance, I guess, would be reduced as well. And if repairs were required beyond that, we would have to variance those in our budget.
Okay, and do you use the reduced frequency of custodial services, so provided to non-public facilities, is that for our overall infrastructure portfolio, or is it specifically for our city hall, or how does that work?
Through the chair, so the reduction on the reduced custodial services are for non-public facilities. So the non-public areas of City Hall, as well as fire headquarters and transit operations.
Okay, and then to the chair, I don't know who it is here. Does this affect jobs, union jobs, or otherwise in the details of these savings?
Just go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, there are no job reductions as a result of these cuts, and anything that needed adjusting would be adjusting within the work area. So there would be no layoffs or jobs eliminated. No.
Okay, I think that's it for me. I will say that when we have that motion, I will be looking at that downtown public washroom, as I do believe that washroom is important as being part of our public face downtown and vibrancy, and no one wants to go in like a unkept washroom visiting our city. So I do think that one I would advocate for when this comes back.
Thank you, Councillor Turnbull. Recognize Councillor Flores.
Thank you. Through the chair, could you elaborate a little bit more as to how these particular items were selected for reduction, and specifically the timeline, because these reductions are for this budget year, right? And all of these cuts would likely go back to its normal service expectations, pending on budget the following year.
Mr. Anderson.
Thanks, and through the chair. So great question, and maybe I'll walk you through the process we took. So yes, these cuts had to occur in this year in order to balance the budget, and they had to impact the mill rate. So we had to cut out, so the first thing we did is cut out anything that was funded through a reserve or through our utility rates, right? So now we were left with sort of a subsection of what our expenses were for the year. We also were cognizant that we were more than a quarter through the year. So it had to be something that we could do looking forward to save the money. The next thing we looked at then is we went to every area and we said, okay, everyone put forward where we can find savings in terms of services and stuff that we're providing for the rest of the year. And we gathered a list. So I think the list ended up being somewhere around $2 million of stuff that we identified that was cuttable. We did look at, people costs. So people costs, so just to make everyone aware, means it needs to be a savings this year. In order to be a savings this year, that means that the salary savings in the last, say, call it just over half a year, had to be more than the severance that we would pay. So you really are only looking at staff that have worked here for less than 3 years. So once you start looking at staff that have only worked here for 3 years, your pool became so much smaller. Again, then when we're dealing with, unionized staff, there's lots of rules that go into how those, right, the time it takes. We would also have to give extended notice. So because it would have been a lot of staff, there's rules in the province, labor laws, we would have had to give a month notice to the province. We would have had to give a month notice to staff. So you're really looking at an exorbitant amount of people, right, that we can save, say, 2 months' salary. So in order to save, a significant amount of money, there was no money to be saved there. In fact, we couldn't even get to enough people to add up to the 1.5 million. So we sort of said, okay, that's not really an option given what we've been handled. So now we took that list of the 2 million and we, as administration, debated and said, okay, what do we think will have the least amount of impact to our residents and to our customers? And so we came up with this list. We tried to avoid, so one other thing that's important from my perspective is we tried to avoid just adjusting an estimate. Obviously, when you're doing a budget, there's lots of estimates that go into it. Estimates around vacancy rates, estimates around how much it's going to snow, estimates around how many buses are going to break down. In previous years, in order to try and reduce mill rates, we've adjusted estimates to say, like, well, let's just assume the buses are going to break down less. What ends up happening is then you just end up with a deficit at the end of the year. So we tried to find things that we called controllable. So can we actually control this? So for instance, when you look at the carbon tax, right, instead of saying, well, let's take what the overall estimated savings might be from the carbon tax reduction, we focused on areas where we believed that it was certain, right? When we pay our gas and utility bills, so not fuel, but our power bill and our heating bill, we believe that the provincial government will pass that savings on to us. We don't believe that those entities will claw back some of that savings. Whereas for fuel, right, we're estimating what the overall cost of fuel will be. How much will the carbon reduction actually reduce our cost of fuel is uncertain. So we didn't want to put something like that forward. So that was essentially the process we took to understand how we got to this list. And like Councillor Fro's amendment, we can walk you through the other items we had on that list and sort of have the conversation with you, but that's the process we took.
And I guess that's my next question. As you mentioned, there is a number of items and you are recommending these based on a number of factors that you just spoke to. So given that, like, that is if we go back to say, no, we are not happy with this, we don't want mosquitoes, let's figure something else out. Is beyond what you've already mentioned, that you've identified, is there a possibility to figure other things, or is that, like, that is where we're at, we have a limited timeline and we have to just, we've made this direction, so we just have to live with it?
Up to you.
Acting City Manager, please go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I think Mr. Anderson has outlined the process that was undertaken. I think I need to remind you again, and this is just so you understand, that your mill rate that you wanted, I believe, was set at 7.3, is whatever the specific mill rate number, increase, which is predicated on finding savings of 1.55. The reason Councillor Fro is bringing a reconsideration motion is because Council made an explicit decision to delegate authority to administration to find savings and then let us know. And what I'm hearing is you're not necessarily comfortable with any or all of these, and so that's why you have to take that delegated authority motion that you made as part of the budget and defeat it or reconsider it so that you can give direction to admin. We will go back and look, and I'm expecting that you don't want us just to give you a report on here it is. You actually want to have some input into making those decisions. So that's where things stand. So for those who are confused about why are we reconsidering this, it's because you delegated authority to admin, and now you're thinking that's not really what we're happy with. So we will continue, give us the direction, we will go back, and we will look, and as Mr. Anderson said, there are some legitimate constraints in terms of what can be done, and so there's going to have to be some kind of consensus as to what is doable and what is palatable and acceptable, but we'll return.
Thank you. Just time check. We're going to start a little late. We're going to break about 10 minutes.
Sure.
Back to you,
No,
Councilor Flores.
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. I think that's the last thing I want to say. I think this is really good information for us to consider that as we do budgets. When we provide direction to just say find money, this is the consequences that we have. So I think it serves as for us to figure out, like, if we are giving administration the direction to do so, and we are given back, this is how we can do it. That's how we see that it's I don't know that we're ever going to be happy with this. It always means cutting services. So that is, I think, a lesson learned to not have a process where it just says find money. I from what I've noticed in previous councils, it hasn't been a positive outcome then. I don't think it, like, we're not going to be happy with the cuts, but it's now part of the budget and we have to do it. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Flores. Recognize Councilor Redens.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Just one of the line items on here is about dust suppression services. And so if you can please, explain to me what specifically that involves and how does that affect the edges of the city, and specifically to uplands where there is a piece of gravel road between two pieces of paved roads. And it's about, I think we had a conversation, it's about 150 meters that we need to look at how we're gonna, deal with that down the road. So specifically, how does that affect the edges of the city?
Mr. Doney.
Through the chair, thanks for the question. So we have about 45 kilometers of gravel road within the city limits, primarily all on the outside of the city. And so our dust suppression program provides a material onto that gravel road that reduces the amount of dust that comes up at about 7 kilometers. And those locations are picked when they're close to businesses, adjacent to homes, places like that. And so what we are doing, instead of having 2 applications, like one in June and October, we're going to have 1 application probably around July. And so we will have more dust on the outsides of the city. There will be concerns from residents because when you live beside a gravel road, there are concerns with dust, but that's what we're doing to reduce cost.
Okay, thank you. So in terms of our reconsideration, then I would like to see that piece be reduced, and we'll discuss more when next meeting.
Through the
Thank
chair.
you.
Through the chair. I just want to comment. Some of the operational things are happening, and so time is of the essence. And so if there's something that you don't want to happen, like dust suppression, that ship may have sailed because we have contracts in place, but we can have that conversation in May.
Okay. Thank you very much. Recognize Councilor Rasevich and.
Through the chair. Yeah, it's an interesting process. We asked for 1.5 million, and because we're sitting on the outside here and we totally can't see inside of where to find reductions. I still feel that way, and it's a tough one, because I know during the budget I brought forth 4 motions about where we could bring reductions in, from reducing the transit fleet, 3 million, DEI, 110,000, Bike lanes, 500,000. I don't see a lot of people riding their bikes right now anyways. And also even the potted plants on Prince of Wales, that would have been $45,000. So, I mean, I know we totally can't maybe be giving you all the input of where we want to see reductions. And you're just presenting this to us because, like you said, there's no employees losing, time. But I was thinking, hey, what about summer students or summer jobs? I don't know what the numbers are for that. Maybe there's a reduction in some of those areas. It's without, maybe there's attrition, but I guess you can't predict attrition at this moment. You need more time. But anyways, I think I'm just talking to everybody, council, like, you know what, there's some other places here where we can make some reductions still, in other areas that it won't affect some of these things. So, yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Councilor Ratsovich. I'll go to Acting City Manager and I have something myself. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Administration hears you, Councilor Ratsovich. I think we understand around the horseshoe where you're coming from. We will, because this is just a receive and file at this point, but we will commit, because we know a reconsideration is coming, we will prepare a wider range of menu options for you. And at that meeting, when that is discussed sometime in May, there is nothing stopping you, councillor, or any other councillor, from putting forth additional things that we may not have identified. So with respect, I'm not sure how long Mr. Irick, or how far Mr. Irick may have got with planting pots, but you could make a motion at that to say only plant half as many. And like what we're saying is, if you want to go to an open, say essentially an open mic in terms of identifying options, that is your prerogative, and we will bring you a wide-ranging menu of options, some which are going to be much less compatible or palatable or acceptable or exciting to you, but that's where we're at. Because the commitment has been made to lower the mill rate, we have to find 1.55 in savings, and it isn't necessarily going to be without issue or complications.
Thank you very much. Because I moved out, close debate. Nope, sorry. Going to go to Councillor Bezo.
Thank you very much, through the chair. Thank you very much, Mr. Nickel, for that conversation. And I want to just ensure and enforce the word that we use, sustained savings, not one-time project-based savings. So this is a sustained savings going forward. So something that we can reduce on an annualized basis, or if it's gone for an annualized basis. Thank you.
So I think we should look for clarity on that, given that we had a reduction associated with this year's budget. So I'm going to look to Mr. Anderson, and then unless Councillor Bezos has anything else, I'll close debate. Mr. Anderson, go ahead.
Thank you, and through the chair. So yeah, in terms of this motion that got passed, it did not say that it had to impact future budgets. This council does have the ability to influence and approve future budgets. So we will continue to have conversations around what the city level of services want to provide and the costs associated with that. And this council has the ability to change those service levels going forward.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bezos, anything else to add?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I will close debate, and I think it's clear there are no perfect cuts. And I think the lesson learned here undoubtedly is that when you make unbudgeted cuts at budget time, there are consequences, and we have seen some of those consequences. Councillor Rasovich, you did make several suggestions that were budgeted cuts, and those weren't passed. But like Councillor Flores, I hope we all collectively learn to avoid at all costs unbudgeted reductions, because, well, we might be the sunshine capital of Canada sometimes, and let's not hope this year we're also the mosquito capital of Canada. So grateful for the opportunity to revisit where these savings come from. At this point, I'm going to suggest that we take our mandatory... Oh, sorry, we have to vote for the receive and file. I apologize. Thanks. So we will call the vote for the receive and file.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, the motion is carried 9-1 with the following members voting in favor as follows. Councillors Burton, Bezo, Rasevich, Turnbull, Sickles, Fro, Radins, Mancinelli, and Mayor Bashinsky. And the member voting against is Councillor Flores.
Thank you very much. At this point, we'll take our mandatory 15-minute recess, which means we'll be back at 5 to 11. Okay, we have quorum, so we will get started. We'll now consider item EX 2539, 2004 annual submittal, the Community and Social Wellbeing Impact Regina. Can I please have CFO, Deputy City Manager Darren Anderson introduce the report?
Thank you. And through you, the chair. Community and Social Impact Regina, Inc., CSIR, is governed by a board of directors and is a non-for-profit operating under a unanimous members agreement, the UMA, with the City of Regina. The city is the owner of all the issued Class A voting memberships of CSIR. Under the UMA, the CSIR is required to provide an annual report to City Council. You have not heard a presentation from an organization, but have included their detailed 2024 annual report and financial results. Please note, at its meeting on February 5th, 2025, City Council approved the dissolution of CSIR through CR 25-11, Community and Social Impact Regina, Inc. That work is continuing with an expected wind-up sometime this summer.
Thank you. Can I have someone move the report? Councillor Burton, do you wish to speak to the report? Okay, I'll open up for questions from members. Councillor Turnbull, please go ahead.
Hello, I realize this is being disassembled, but with the budget items, there's a couple things that have come up which might align to this, which we've talked about in the past few weeks, and I was wondering if there's any opportunity for that. For example, the food security motion that came with operating costs. Would there be an opportunity from CSR here, or even for the transit pilot program with some of these funds?
So I'll just provide some context, and then I'll look to administration. With the dissolution of CSIR, my understanding there was an amendment put forward, I believe by me, that indicated that any expenditures associated with any reserve funds after the dissolution and wind-up would be allocated to priorities in the Community Safety and Wellbeing Fund. Yep. Certainly food security is one of those. I don't believe the previous item, outside of foregone revenue and the opportunity cost, that there was any cash ask with that. But your question's well made, whereby depending, transit might require more of a conversation on that. But certainly if administration wants to elaborate on that, please, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, and through the chair. So this report's actually, this is the 2024 annual report. So this is sort of a report to council on the 2024. We haven't prepared anything in relation to the wind-up that's occurring right now.
And I guess the other option would be if there were surpluses, if that could even help with some of our other expenditure reductions as that. I was just seeing how this could all play a part, that's all.
Yeah, and I think, sorry, any more specific questions, sir?
I guess just more information on that. Like, do we see that there will be some surplus that we would be able to apply to some of these other items we've been discussing?
Mr. Anderson?
So yeah, and through the chair, again, we haven't prepared anything on that. This is the 2024 annual report that we're submitting to council. The wind-up is continuing, and at some point we will bring back what you're asking for to council.
Yeah, and just for clarity, what we're dealing with now is the annual report from the 2024 activities and outcomes of CSIR. So we are not speaking about the 2025 budget and any potential reserve funds after the dissolution. We are speaking about how this operated last fiscal year. And I think with that, if I may, I might actually look to Councillor Flores to provide some remarks, given that she is one of our two council representatives on that board. And then if there's specific questions to the activities of 2024, we can deal with that then. Councillor Flores, if you would, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, this is what I have, and it's information shared with me by the executive director of CSIR, and it's just mostly as to the reports and the information presented today. So In your agenda, you have the 2024 CSIR Annual Progress Report and final audited financial statements. As we're all aware, the City of Regina Council has approved a motion to dissolve the organization to enhance efficiencies and the transition of the work to the Community Safety and Wellbeing Division of the City of Administration, and that was on February 5th, 2025. As a result, the CSIR Board of Directors and the City of Regina Proxy have reviewed and approved the CSIR 2024 Annual Progress Report and financials to be presented today. These reports satisfy the reporting requirements within the unanimous members agreement with the City of Regina and within the Nonprofit Corporations Act. And we just request that the City of Regina Council to receive and file this report and audit financial statements as presented.
Thank you very much, Councillor Flores. So any specific questions related to the 2024 annual report and activities? Councillor Rastovich, please go ahead.
The Chair, hey, I think I mentioned earlier, hey, I'm not the best at reading all these financial statements. So for 2024, I mean, I'm looking at this one sheet, it says accumulated surplus, note, and then note 7, 1.715 million. So does that mean we have that money, accumulated surplus? Or I guess what do we have at the end of all these financial positions and statements? What do we have in the bank?
So I'm going to go to administration, but as a reminder, we're going through the process of dissolving CSIR. So there are some outstanding costs associated with winding that organization down.
Okay.
So when that is done, we will know then what is left. These are the audited financial statements of last fiscal year, but I'll look for clarity from Mr. Anderson.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, and through the chair. Yeah, so accumulated surplus isn't cash, so it's an accounting number that you get through accrual accounting based year over year. So as the organization operates and it ends up with an overall profit, it falls to accumulated surplus. That's not cash though. So cash is, you'll see cash at the end of the year, and there's more details in note 5, was $805,000. So, but again, to Councillor Fro's point,
yeah,
that doesn't mean that that's excess cash. That just means that that was the cash in the bank account on that day. And as we wind down the organization, if there's any excess assets available, we will be bringing that back to council.
Okay. Is that in here, that 805? Did I miss something?
Yeah,
okay.
So if you're on page 14 of their financials.
Okay, page 14. Sorry, I'm just going there. Yep.
So you see
okay,
the top
cash,
line there.
805, yep. Gotcha. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Anderson. Thank you, Mr. Rastovich. I do not see any other questions. Just as a reminder, who moved that? Councillor Burton, do you wish to close debate? Okay, thank you. I will ask the clerk to start the vote. Manzanelli in favor.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, the motion carries with all members present voting in favor.
Thank you. I'd like to call upon delegations related to EX 2540. Judith Verasek, please make your way to the front.
I didn't miss the vote, did I?
I don't think so. Welcome back, Judith. Please introduce yourself, the organization, if any, representing the city that you live in. You'll, of course, have 5 minutes to address us here, after which there may be some questions from my colleagues. Please go ahead.
Should I move over? Oh. Okay. Good morning, Councillor Fro and City Council. My name is Judith Verasek. I'm the Executive Director of the Regina Downtown Business Improvement District, and I'm pleased to be here today on behalf of the RDBID Board of Directors to present our 2024 annual report. In your package, you would have received a copy of our 2024 annual report, as well as our 2024 audited financial statements. Our annual report actually went through a few edits, so I will have an updated version for you in the coming weeks. It's just at the printer right now. As a quick refresher, Business Improvement District is an entity created by City Council. We were formed in 1981, and we represent the commercial property owners within our boundary as they provide our funding through a special levy. Our purpose is to enable a sustainable downtown neighborhood where entrepreneurship and cultural vitality flourishes, and all Regina residents are able to thrive in an active, safe, accessible, inclusive, and beautiful public realm. We work very closely with the City of Regina. However, our services are intended to supplement, not replace, the services provided by the city. Our boundaries go from Angus Street to Halifax Street, from the railroad tracks to 13th Avenue, and along Broad Street south to College. Pre-COVID, over 35,000 people came to work downtown every day. Over 20,000 people live in downtown Regina and the 4 adjacent neighborhoods, so Center Square, Cathedral, Heritage, and Warehouse. However, the total population of downtown proper is approximately 750 as of 2020. It is important to note that downtown Regina is 1% of the land area of the city, yet accounts for 4% of the assessed value of Regina and 7% of the property tax capture for the city. Some of the highlights of 2024 include the production of Frost at Downtown. We were in our 3rd year of Frost Regina Winter Festival, and in 2024, our downtown hub welcomed over 14,000 guests to our event site in Victoria Park and Pat Fiacco Plaza. We had continued operations of our rink at City Square. We welcomed over 2,300 people over the 2024 season, and we loaned close to 1,500 pairs of skates. Artie Bid also received a one-time downtown vibrancy grant of $500,000 from the City of Regina to support a collection of projects focused on increasing cleanliness, beauty, and activity in downtown. Through this grant and the support of the city, we installed painted jersey barriers and planters along the Pat Fiacco Plaza that provided a safe pedestrian pathway from vehicles driving on the plaza during year 2 of the 11th Avenue construction. We installed 10 vinyl artwork wrapped temporary transit benches featuring work by artists Rory and Polly. We installed 4 new murals that expanded our urban canvas public art program, including the Hamilton and Scarth Alleyway mural, which covers 3,500 square feet of pavement done by Home Court. The Legion Parkade Alleyway mural, also by Home Court, that covers 1,260 square feet of wall on the Legion Building's parkade. Painted Daydreams, the vinyl mural by local artist Joylyn McAllis, is on the north-facing wall of the City of Regina Public Washroom Building. And 365 Days of Home is a painted mural by local Indigenous artist Harley Sinclair. This is on the City of Regina Maintenance Garage Building in Victoria Park. We also installed 3 new art exhibits on the Regina Downtown Outdoor Gallery boxes. Our clean team welcomed our new maintenance truck that was donated by the City of Regina. We took over enhanced maintenance services, so we were cleaning the bus shelters within our downtown, and we also serviced public waste receptacles in downtown and along 13th Avenue from Albert to Elphinstone. In 2024, our clean team collected close to 10,000 pounds of litter. We removed over 600 graffiti tags, and we disposed of 72 needles. We hosted our 7th annual Fall Cleanup Day, and we introduced the first annual Earth Day corporate cleanup, which took place this year, actually. The 2nd annual was just last week. We partnered with the Warehouse District Bid and the Regina and District Chamber of Commerce on our City Building Speaker Series. We hosted 2 lectures last year, one regarding libraries as community catalysts with Pilar Martinez and Carl Belanger, and the future of sticky cities with urbanist Jorik Beyer from the Netherlands. We also hosted 2 community-based panel discussions in partnership with the Regina Public Library, including one focused on safety and community well-being, and the second on downtown revitalizations. We continued our Downtown Regina gift card program with over 100 participating businesses. We sold over 1,100 gift cards in 2024, which led to over $35,000 in additional spending in downtown businesses. We hosted our 9th annual tree lighting. We celebrated our downtown restaurants through Beef Week, festive beverages, our Taste of Downtown Restaurant Week promotions, and other promotions such as Vegetarian Week, Pasta Week, and our Taste of Downtown. We launched the rebranding of the Community Support Program from CSP to the Regina Street Team in partnership with the Regina Police Service and Community and Social Impact Regina. We received over $200,000 in a grant from the Government of Saskatchewan to extend the RST services to other areas in Regina, the Regina community. We also have many other programs and initiatives that are also detailed in our annual report. Thank you for the opportunity today to share our annual report with you. I am happy to answer any questions you might have with respect to our operations in 2024.
Thank you very much, Judith. I'll recognize Councillor Turnbull. Please go ahead. No, go ahead.
Thank you for presenting and being here.
Apologize. Please go ahead.
Oh, thank you for being here and for presenting. I was just wondering if you provide any services or operations to that downtown washroom and what that means to you.
The downtown washroom, I believe it opened last year. The pavilion, the building that it's in was originally Regina Downtown's pavilion. We operated it as, I guess, a headquarters for our Info on the Go team and our City Square summer programming. When the city was looking for a location to install a washroom, we ended up doing a switch with them. So we gave the pavilion back to the city and they made the improvements to put in the washroom. And then we also worked with the city for the permanent installation of the chalet on the opposite side of the park. So at this point in time, the city operates wholly and solely the pavilion and the public washroom. Regina Downtown takes care of the chalet, which does not have a public washroom in it.
Okay, is there is any partnership or any ability within your budget to help with that, or what would it mean to you if there was less maintenance on that washroom?
Obviously, there is a big concern when, to be frank, it feels like it's a walk back on the commitment that the city made 2 or 3 years ago to the development of this washroom. To build it and invest that time and money in planning and construction, only to walk back, to shutter it, to not close it, but really reduce the hours or reduce the cleanliness of it is a challenge for us. And I'll be speaking to that when it comes back to council in a couple of weeks. But it certainly is needed. When the washroom was coming online, the city did put out an RFP for third-party organizations to provide additional services to manage that. We put in a proposal for that. We were not selected. I believe the parameters that we responded to created, I guess, a budget request or a budget requirement that was beyond what the city had available. So I think moving forward, that's something we can certainly work with the city on to try and find something that could work. But at the same time, we also need to maintain the integrity of the programs that we have and the staffing we have, and not have management of a washroom impact other aspects of our operation.
Perfect. I'm going to pull back before I get called out of order. So thank you so much, and we can talk more about the washroom at a later time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Turnbull. Recognize Councillor Burton.
Thank you for the report, through the chair. You mentioned graffiti tags being removed. You said about 600, I believe was the number you used there. I helped do the announcement for the residential camera registry. And do you understand if there's quite a few cameras downtown? And would a business camera registry be something that might be useful for the downtown businesses? Because the one we announced was a residential camera registry.
Through the chair, that certainly is on our radar. We're actually hosting a downtown safety meeting tomorrow with some of our key stakeholders and working with the city on development of a business security camera registry is on both our radar and RPS's radar. It's something that we want to do this year. We're also exploring the opportunity to expand camera coverage in the downtown. There's just some, I guess, details that we just need to understand and understand some budgets around that. But security cameras are definitely on our radar.
Thank you. And just a comment that the higher the definition, the better, because having been involved in security sometimes in the past, some cameras just show blobs, and you know a blob sprayed with some paint, but better definition is better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Burton, recognize Councillor Rasevich.
Through the chair, I know the folk festival's not happening this year.
Through the chair, I understand that, yes.
Is your organization, are you guys involved with that? Or do you guys fund that in any way? Or?
Through the chair, the Folk Festival is its own organization. In past years, we would provide in-kind support, so allow them access to our assets, so tables, chairs, and that sort of thing. There may have been 1 or 2 years where we did provide a financial sponsorship based on what the programming was and how it aligned with what our goals were for that year. But we do not operate or run that event.
Yeah, fair enough. And I know this whole bathroom situation, just my question is, so obviously this whole bathroom, it was open last year? Was it not?
Through the chair, I believe it opened towards the beginning of summer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe about June.
Right.
But administration to be able to
Okay,
answer.
no, I guess the reasoning for my question was if it was open all last year, then the money that we were looking at cutting back, this $100,000, because if it was open last year, I'm assuming it ran fine last year, or maybe it didn't, but to carry forward.
So I think that's maybe a question for administration after then,
Yeah,
Councillor Rasevich.
okay. All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you very much. I don't see any other questions, so I just have a few, Judith, and
Okay.
thank you for all the work that you do. We clearly all have a vested interest in a vibrant and prosperous and safe downtown. So I just have 3 questions in relation to that. So, in contrast to negative absorption overall related to office real estate, it seems like the downtown, at least Q4 2024, is, there's a generous slight uptick, and I don't think anyone expects us to go back to pre-office or pre-COVID office levels. But generally, what are you seeing as it relates to trends in office, and how might that be impacting your commercial members at this point? Is there some good news on that front from your perspective?
Through the chair, this is anecdotal, so I don't have a report to throw out at you, but it's still challenging. I think there's a lot of folks, or businesses that are in offices that are still having that balance between work from home and return to office. So they're not at, I guess, the same capacity they were in 2019. And a lot of them are also assessing their need for space now that we're sorting through who's going to be working from home and who's not. So there is concern around lease renegotiations and whether or not there's a contraction of office space needed for these businesses. At the same time, God bless construction. We need it. I am very supportive of it, but it is an impact on people wanting to be downtown, wanting to come to work downtown. When you have to negotiate, a forest of pylons to get to whatever your parking space, or it's definitely been a challenge. We are hearing that a lot. The fact that we're in year 3 of construction and we still have 2 more years to go, I'm very nervous about what that impact is. Right now, if you've driven through or walked through downtown, the construction is really focused between Broad and Lorne, in about a month, we're going to have more construction from Lorne to Albert. So, yeah, it's, like I said, it's needed. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be doing this. These are generational infrastructure investments that needed to happen for downtown, but the impact that it's having is extremely challenging.
Thanks, Judith. Just two quick questions related to your annual report, maybe corporate structure. Particularly given the fact that we've been stagnant on downtown residents, and obviously office and residential density is important for a vibrant downtown. Does your current structure, much like the warehouse, allow for a residential representative? And have you thought about enhancing residential perspectives as it relates to your bids operation and strategic intents?
Through the chair, I think that's a great question. Our internal policies have really focused on commercial property owners or decision level folks that are perhaps tenants of buildings, so business operators. That's kind of where we've always leaned to in terms of makeup of our board. We were very encouraged by the development and activity that we're seeing from the newly formed Downtown Community Association, which will probably be better able to address the issues specifically facing residents. And that's not to say that we couldn't collaborate on things that are in alignment between the both of us in the future. So as they get their sea legs underneath them, I look forward to building a relationship with that organization to ensure that we do hear what the residents' touch points are for downtown.
Thanks so much. Last question. Wonder if you could speak to how you feel your relationship and our overall partnership in relation to the street team and the support for some vulnerable people went over the last year. And then specifically, if there was resources available to expand evening and weekend support through the summer months to support vulnerable people and those that workshop and live downtown. Wondering your general thoughts on that, if you would support that. It's certainly something I hear a lot.
Through the chair, I think those are great questions, and I think that program really is a highlight for us. The team is doing amazing work. I think they've really built a reputation within the community as being trustworthy and a source of information and support, and I really appreciate the work that they do, and I think that's visible to a lot of organizations given the feedback that I've heard, both anecdotal and in writing. They've received a number of grants for their operations, which just goes to show the impact that they're having in the community. With respect to expansion of hours, that is something that has always been on our radar. It does entail, I guess, more detailed work to develop something that will work properly. So some of the things that we had to put on hold because we wanted to do evening work, but we didn't have vehicles for a long time. Just this past year, we got 4 vehicles now. So that kind of opens up opportunity for us. At the same time, you're not just hiring 1 or 2 because they do work in teams of 2 or 3. So you're bringing on like another platoon, for lack of a better term. And how do you deal with shift work? And just making sure that as an employer, we're doing right by the employees. We're setting up policy and structure in place so that they remain safe and then that they're efficient and effectual. At the same time, making sure that they're properly resourced with the funding that we do have. So those are conversations that we're having internally, and we'll definitely be providing feedback to you and to our other funders about what that could look like in the future and what resources we would need to make that successful.
Well, thanks so much, Judith, and congratulations on a successful and an impactful year. We appreciate you presenting your annual report. There aren't any other questions. So to your staff and through you to the board, thanks for all your great work. You can return to the gallery. We will now now consider item EX 2540, 2024 annual submittal, Regina Downtown Business Improvement District. Can I ask the CFO Deputy City Manager Darren Anderson please introduce the report?
Thank you. Excuse me, and through the chair. The City of Regina submits the 2024 annual report of its service partner, the Regina Downtown Business Improvement District, RD bid. In 2003, City Council passed bylaw 2003-80, the Regina Downtown Business Improvement District bylaw, to create the RD bid. The purpose of the district is to encourage the development of a vibrant and prosperous downtown. Section 9 of that bylaw requires that, on or before May 1st in each year, the board shall submit its annual report for the preceding year to council, together with a completed, audited, and certified financial statements of its affairs, with a balance sheet and revenue and expenditure statements. You have heard a presentation from the organization detailing their 2024 annual report, and we submit it for approval.
Thank you very much. Can I have someone move this report? Councillor Bashinsky, do you wish to speak to it? Mayor Bashinsky. All right. Apologize, Your Worship. Any questions from members? Okay, I don't see any. Mayor Bashinsky, anything else to close debate? Thank you. I'll ask the clerk to start the vote. Councilor Manzanelli, in favor? Thank you.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, the motion is carried with all members present voting in favor.
Thank you very much. And I'll call upon delegation related to EX 2542. I'd like to call upon, sorry, I apologize, EX 2541. I'd like to call upon delegation Lance Donison. Please come forward, Lance. Welcome back. Please introduce yourself for the record, the organization, if any, representing the city you live in. You'll have 5 minutes to address us, after which my colleagues may have questions for you. Please go ahead.
Thank you, and through the chair, good morning. My name is Lance Donison. I'm the Executive Director of the Regina Warehouse District. And it is my pleasure to be here this morning to present our annual report. So good morning to the members and council. Thank you for this opportunity to share highlights from the Warehouse District 2024 annual report. And 2024 was a year of major progress for our district. I think we all saw the long-awaited Dewdney Avenue revitalization project break ground, replacing the outdated underground infrastructure from Albert to Broad. And this was a significant step toward modernizing our historic corridor, setting the stage for future development. And throughout the construction process, we worked hand in hand with businesses and the city to maintain access and minimize disruption, and we continue to do so. In 2024, we introduced free parking in the yards, and we kept the message clear that Dewdney is open for business. Perhaps most importantly, last year, Council endorsed the Warehouse District's vision plan. And this is a bold blueprint that will guide us towards a vibrant, mixed-use neighborhood where business, culture, and community can thrive. We also entered into an interim use agreement with the city for the yards, allowing us to activate that space while long-term development plans continue to unfold. And this is a key opportunity for us to bring people together, foster community events, and draw more attention and investment within the area. And speaking of community, our 2024 events did truly bring the district to life, and we celebrated Frost, I think, as all of you probably attended, with hundreds of people coming into the district. YQR Food Truck Wars was a significant event that occurred in the district. We had, if you can believe it, 12,000 people entering and coming through the yards to attend that event. We have the Hop Circuit that connected hundreds of craft beer fans to the local breweries that hopefully a few of you have been able to spend some time and get down and visit. And these events weren't just fun, they were economic drivers, and they supported our local businesses and certainly brought energy to the district. Looking ahead to 2025, we're focused on continuing to see the momentum grow. We're going to complete the Dewdney Avenue revitalization. We're going to reopen Dudney as a signature street once again in Regina. We'll continue to activate the yards to ensure the warehouse district continues to be a cultural and economic anchor for the city. And certainly thanks to a strong partnership with the City of Regina, we are poised for transformative growth within the district. And together, we're not just rebuilding infrastructure, we're shaping a thriving, dynamic future for the cultural and truly the soul of the city. Thank you so much, and I'm happy to take any questions that you may have regarding our annual report.
Thanks, Mr. Donaldson. Great work. Appreciate all the work that you do. I'll look to see if my colleagues have any questions. I don't see any questions, which I'm certain is a reflection of the continued good work of you and the board, and we'll make sure to collectively enjoy some of those great breweries in the warehouse district amongst other businesses. So you can return to the gallery. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
I'll ask the clerk to start the vote on EX25. Sorry, I apologize. Can I have CFO rather, Deputy City Manager Darren Anderson, please introduce the report. Thank you.
Thank you, and through the chair. First, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Donaldson and his staff for the timely financial information. It was a great improvement this year, year over year, and sort of a highlight of our service partners in getting us our information on time. So I wanted to take the opportunity in front of council to thank him and his team for the great work, and we appreciate it. The City of Regina submits the 2024 annual report of its service partner, the Regina's Warehouse Business Improvement District, or RW BID. In 2003, the RW BID was created when City Council passed the Regina Warehouse Business Improvement District Bylaw, 2003-15. The purpose of this district is to encourage the development of a prosperous warehouse district. Section 11 of that bylaw requires that, on or before May 1st of each year, the board shall submit its annual report for the preceding year to the council together with a complete, audited, and certified financial statement of its affairs with a balance sheet and revenue and expenditure statement. You have heard a presentation from the organization detailing their 2024 annual report and financial results. We submit it for your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Can I have someone move this report? Councillor Seat, please. Do you wish to speak to it? Okay. Any questions from members on this report for administration? I don't see any. So at this time, we will start the vote, please.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, the motion carries 9-0 with Mayor Bashinsky temporarily has left the meeting. All those members are voting in favor.
Thank you. I'll call upon delegation related to EX 2542, and that would be Chris Lane, Darren Howden, and Tina Holtby. Please come forward. We have a PowerPoint presentation with this delegation, so there'll be 10 minutes allocated to this delegation. Welcome back. I've been told this is a very compelling, exciting PowerPoint presentation, so we're waiting on with bated breath. Please introduce yourself for the record, the organization, if any, you represent, the city or town in which you reside, and you'll have 10 minutes to present, after which there may be questions from my colleagues. Please go ahead.
There we go. Thank you very much. My name is Chris Lane. I'm the President and CEO at Economic Development Regina, and joining me here today are Darren Howden and Tina Holtby. Darren is the Vice Chair of our board, and Tina Holtby is our Manager of Finance. And I understand Real also has a presentation, which is good because I felt like I was going to overdo it here, seeing the previous one, so we will move quickly for you all. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity here today. Before we get into it, just a quick opportunity to review who EDR is and what we do and how we work with the city. As we know, EDR was formed as a not-for-profit in 2016, and as per our UMA, the City of Regina is EDR's sole shareholder. Under that UMA, you've mandated EDR to do several things: deliver high-level economic strategy, business development and investment attraction, and marketing and promotion of Regina for business and the talent needed to support business growth here in the region. To accomplish that, we divide the work into two separate buckets. Hunting is about the investment attraction and business supports, a proactive stance to find and develop the opportunities that work best here in Regina specifically. Homemaking is about the storytelling, marketing, and promotion of community activation that shine the best and truest light on our city to enable that growth. And underlying all of it is the data. We place a premium on making strong, data-supported decisions across the organization. At the end of the day, we are Regina's sales, marketing, and advocacy agency. We are proud flag bearers for the city and the opportunity it has to offer businesses, investors, and citizens. Underpinning all of what we talk about today is EDR's commitment to partnerships and collaborations. We don't do very much alone, and that continues to drive outcomes for the city, its residents, and our partners. In 2024, we built brand new and updated existing partnerships with the federal and provincial governments, business associations, individual companies, and entrepreneurs. In 2024, EDR also launched the Grow Regina Partnership, which provides the business community with the opportunity to contribute to the future of our city while leveraging key economic insights and EDR's expertise. This program has been a remarkable success to date, striking 10 partnerships and counting, representing a section of Regina's business community. I talked about the value EDR places in making sound, data-informed decisions based on provable data points. In 2023, we launched the Economics and Data Unit, and in 2024, it really started producing. Some highlights include multiple deep dive reports that focus on small business, competitiveness, and the overall GRA economy. EDR's comprehensive bioeconomy opportunity research that is now being used by all levels of government to drive investment to Regina in that sector and is responsible for a forthcoming bioeconomy development zone rating. And of course, our regular data products like the Economic Brief, the latest of which you all would have received earlier this week, including a deep dive on tariffs in Regina. Our data tools not only aid in EDR's decision-making, they also serve members of the community as well. Last year, we led or assisted work for vital community organizations as well as city administration in the critical work they do to continually make Regina a better place. And it's not just about sharing data and analytics with partners. In 2024, the work done to create a unique in Canada measure of a city's quarterly economic performance took shape. It allowed us to launch a one-stop, easy-to-understand grading of what's happening in our city, tailor-made for our city. It's called the Regina Prosperity Matrix, and the next one will be released in a matter of days. In relation to the deep dive reports, the State of Small Business is a great example of the work done in 2024 to enable publication of this report right after the New Year's break. The report not only underlines the vital role small businesses hold in our economy, it also emphasizes the importance of supporting them as they and Regina's economy grow and adapt. When it comes to investment attraction, 2024 saw EDR move from support to lead player on multiple files, primarily in the energy and agriculture sectors. In fact, our own sourced investment attraction work has led to a pipeline of nearly 100 investors or companies worth a potential $171 million new in Regina. And this work isn't often visible until those announcements are made, and it's never fast. Presenting the opportunity, working with partners, and ultimately facilitating the investment always takes months, and in some cases takes years. But our work has led to real progress, and we're confident in multiple EDR-led or supported investments being announced in 2025 and 26. And when we talk about Regina to investors, this is what we're discussing. A long-established presence in agriculture and food. And of course, Saskatchewan and Regina are home to a vibrant traditional energy sector that generates opportunities for the region. But in 2024, we also established significant momentum in the bioeconomy sector, as I mentioned. Last year, we hosted Regina's first ever bioeconomy investment forum, which brought together industry, academics, and investors. In addition, we see significant opportunities for Regina to play a role in building out Saskatchewan's nuclear supply chain, aviation, aerospace, and defense sector, and Saskatchewan's resurgent film industry, headquartered right here in Regina. On the brand and communication side, we explored new opportunities to craft and share Regina stories within our city limits and well beyond. That efforts resulted in double-digit increases in our digital reach and engagement, putting Regina's positive story in front of millions of views around the world. Part of that work involves engaging community and partner organizations. For example, last year we worked with the Hotels Association to develop and create a major new trade show asset and marketing package that boldly tells the Regina story to business and sporting event organizers. And in a few weeks, we will activate that asset once again, this time in partnership with Tourism Regina at the Skills Canada event here in the city. In late January, EDR was pleased to bring the second ever Western Canada Economic Forum to Regina. While the event was in January, the work done to attract, build, and deliver it was done in 2024. Built in late 2024 and launched in February, the Regina 25 was a community recognition program that fosters civic pride and creates an opportunity to collect, collate, and retell the stories of the people that make Regina special. The program was remarkably successful, resulting in more than 150 nominations submitted across 5 categories. And that story continues to be important. Staying true to that narrative is the foundation of the work we did all throughout 2024 to build EDR's talent attraction strategy. Once again, all that work in 2024 was done so that we could launch this in 2025, the first run of digital ads in the cities where the research directed us. But it's just the start. And yet it's already been viewed by more than 1 million people, driven thousands of visits to the site, and we've received multiple inquiries already into our concierge service from real people looking for support in making the move to Regina. But what about the people and businesses already here? This is a question we get and we're proud to answer. In 2024, EDR facilitated the final year of the original founding partnership that started the AgTech Accelerator. The program will continue, and so will EDR support in a different and more advanced way. We also grew and expanded our delivery of Think Entrepreneurship, putting the opportunity to start or own small businesses in front of dozens of Regina High School students every year. And we wrapped up the Hive YQR, a successful COVID-era entrepreneur mentorship program with our partners, moving active participants into next generation supports. At the same time, we were doing the work to identify a critical gap in Regina's entrepreneur ecosystem that's emerged and design a program to fill it. Built in 2024 and announced just a few weeks ago, this program will provide tailored support to second stage businesses in key industries. These are high potential businesses that have outgrown startup resources but still require strategic guidance to scale. And when they do, this program, led by EDR and funded by the federal government, will ensure they do it in Regina. Financially, EDR remains well managed and stable. Our 2024 financials reflect the resolution of the CRA audit issue and the repayment of subsidies. So while it's reported that EDR had an excess revenues of over expenses of $813,000, that included the one-time grant from the city and interest recovery from CRA, both related to the CRA audit. Having the CRA audit extend across 2 fiscal years created a unique story for our finances, and looking at each year independently doesn't tell the complete story. So for the purpose of this discussion, we'll talk about the impact over 2 years. Starting on the right-hand column, our 2023 expenses showed the $918,000 bill from the CRA.
Sorry to interrupt, Chris. I just wanted to give you a heads up. You have about 30 seconds left, please.
Okay. It all worked out over 2 years. Last year's finances and this year's finance wash. It was a timing issue, but we're in good shape. Thank you.
That was an excellent wrap-up.
Okay, well, I'll move us along.
Thanks for your presentation. There may be an opportunity to add additional context if there's questions. So I'll look to my colleagues to see if there's any questions for you. I don't see any questions at this time, but I think, again, it's an opportunity for us, to you, Darren, and to the board, through you, Chris, to your staff, to thank you for the work that you do. I know we're talking about last year, but we're certainly excited to see what this year has to offer. So thanks for your presentation, and you're welcome to return to the gallery.
Thank you.
We'll now consider item EX 2542, 2024 annual submission, Economic Development Regina. Can I have CFO, Deputy City Manager Darren Anderson, please introduce the report?
Thank you, and through the chair. The City of Regina submits the 2024 annual report of its service partner, Economic Development Regina, Inc., or EDR. Under the unanimous membership agreement between the City and EDR, EDR is required to provide an annual report to City Council for approval. This report provides approval to authorize the Chief Financial Officer and Deputy City Manager as the City of Regina proxy to exercise the city's voting rights at the upcoming EDR Annual General Meeting and to appoint the external auditor for the 2025 fiscal year. You have heard a presentation from the organization detailing their 2024 annual report and financial results. We submit this for your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Can I have someone move this report? Councillor Burton, do you wish to speak to the report, Councillor? Okay. Any questions from councillors for administration? I do not see any. I will ask the clerk to start the vote, please. Oh, sorry, I apologize. I do see a question. No, go ahead, Councillor Seeklees. I was quick on the draw.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Not to spend a lot of time on this, but I think it's important to outline, at least from my perspective, regional economic development is critical in the next 3.5 years of our mandate. My colleagues and I, and the mayor especially, are working diligently to make sure that our mayors and reeves that surround our city are comforted by the fact that we're all on the same team. There are people who are coming out of the woodwork who want to work with us. I think that the climate is now right. It's too bad that we're one of the last major cities in Canada without a formal economic model. I've suggested an acronym and a name already. We're already using it internally, and we want to continue to have discussions with our mayors and reeves and around us. I wanted to say that so that it's on camera for people to watch. We hear you, and we're listening very carefully, and we will be speaking with all of you very soon. And we want admin to know that, you know, we're going to be challenging you to help us in this endeavor. And if there's anything you want to add to my comments, anyone from admin, I'd be welcome to hear them now.
I don't see any response, but as a recovering economic developer, George, I think your comments are well made, and we have very integrated regional supply chains, and I appreciate your comments on that. So with that, I'll ask the clerk to start the vote. Councillor Mazzino is away. Okay.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Massanelli has temporarily stepped away from the meeting. So all those members present are voting in favor.
Thank you very much. At this point, I'd like to call upon delegation related to EX 2543, that being Trent Fraser, Jamie Bolt, and Christine Short. You're welcome to come forward, please. Welcome back. I'll ask that you please introduce yourself for the record, the organization, if any, you represent, the city or town that you live in. You will also have 10 minutes to present to us today. I understand you also have a PowerPoint presentation, so we'll get that loaded. And once it's ready to go, you're welcome to begin after you introduce yourself.
I'm Christine Short. I'm the chair of the Audit Finance Committee for Real, and I live in Regina.
Trent Fraser, Interim CEO, Real District from the City of Regina.
Jamie Bolt, Chair of Real and City of Regina.
Please go ahead when you're ready.
Great. To you, the Chair, thank you. Good morning. Still morning, yes. I'm going to actually start you off. Thank you for the opportunity to present Real's 2024 annual budget. I'm sorry, annual report, I apologize. Yeah, I'm in behind schedule, right? Real is more than a collection of buildings or events. It's a place where our community comes together for sports, for celebration, for connection. Real plays a central role to the cultural and economic fabric of Regina. While the past year has brought significant challenges, our purpose has remained steady to serve this community by creating spaces and moments that bring people together. This slide actually gives you a sense of the scope of what that really means. We are the home to national sporting events, trade shows, community galas, major concerts, signature events like Queen City X and Canada's Farm Show, and much more. From agriculture to entertainment, recreation to business, we support a wide variety of industries and audiences. These events don't just fill the venues, but they create jobs, drive tourism, support local business, and build civic pride. This diversity is one of our greatest strengths and a big part of why Real matters to the city of Regina. I'll turn this over to our chair.
So 2024 was a defining year for Real. We started in a bit of turmoil, but through strong collaboration between our interim board, the staff, and City Council, we began laying the groundwork for transformation. It was a year where resilience was tested and demonstrated. 2024 also marked our 140th anniversary. From our founding in 1884 as a small agricultural fair to today's expansive portfolio of events, sports, and entertainment, Real has remained a central part of Regina's story. We use this moment to reflect on our legacy and reinforce our commitment to being a place where the community gathers, celebrates, and connects. Significant governance changes began in late 2023, and City Council appointed an interim board comprised of city administration to provide immediate oversight and stability. In early 2024, there was a leadership change at the executive level, and an acting president and CEO was appointed to help guide Real through this critical time. In October 2024, a new board was ratified, of which I proudly chair. These changes were necessary steps to stabilize the organization and move towards recovery. In June 2024, City Council approved a new mandate for Real, which you can see. It reflects a clear direction to deliver consistent and reliable experiences that are rooted in partnership while maximizing the use of our facilities for the benefit of the community. But just as important, it also calls for us to do so within a commercially viable, self-sustaining model. This mandate now drives all of our planning, budgeting, and decision-making as we move forward. It reinforces the importance of being both a community anchor and a responsible business. Despite the financial strain and staffing challenges throughout the year, the team at Real continued to deliver. We focused on what we do best, creating experiences that bring people together. From major concerts and tournaments to beloved annual events, our team showed incredible resilience. These events not only brought joy to our community, but also supported the local economy. We saw strong attendance and engagement across the board, reaffirming Real's role as a cornerstone of tourism and cultural life in Regina. QCX 2024 was a standout. We infused a new life into the fair with a fresh programming, community-focused events, and a focus on guest safety. This was a glimpse of the new direction Real is heading towards: innovation, inclusivity, and exciting. Canada's Farm Show has been a cornerstone event, and this year we set the stage for reinvention. Moving to March gives us a competitive edge and aligns better with the ag industry cycle. Is an example of how we're adapting legacy events for modern audiences. So throughout the year, we hosted 411 events, confirming Real's position as a leading destination for business gatherings, public shows, and special events in the province. Events range from one-day exhibitions to multi-day events, private catering functions, large-scale rentals for community and cultural events, and major conferences that supported professional development. Whether it was an event for a group of 10 people or 15,000, Real delivered. At the heart of Real are our staff. Their resilience, creativity, and commitment to the community carried us through this difficult year. We continue to invest in internal culture, communication, and leadership development. There's still work to do, but we're proud of how far we've come. Hand it over to Chris.
This timeline highlights some of the financial pressures Real faced over the past year. The MNP report in late 2023 confirmed that Real's financial position was unsustainable under the current model. The CRA's decision in April was a major setback, requiring the return of over $8 million in Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy funds that Real believed it had qualified for. Without Council's support in May, that repayment would have severely compromised Real's ability to operate. In September, Council provided an additional $4 million in short-term funding to sustain operations through Q1 of 2025. This support allowed time to begin developing a more sustainable path forward, one grounded in realistic budgeting and strong financial discipline. MNP, who's Real's independent auditor, reviewed our 2024 financial statements and concluded they were fairly presented in all material respects. There were no material misstatements identified during the audit. The audited financials continue to reflect a challenging financial position. We're still operating with an ongoing deficit and remain reliant on external funding, particularly from the city, to sustain operations. We also continue to face limited financial flexibility, which restricts our ability to invest proactively in growth in infrastructure. Real's reported EBITDA for 2024 was a loss of $2.5 million, which included $2.4 million in write-downs related to overdue amounts owing to Real that are considered to be uncollectible for accounting purposes. In 2024, revenues saw a modest increase over the previous years, driven largely by the success of the Briar. However, that gain was tempered by weaker than expected performance at Frost and a lower vendor count at Canada's Farm Show. On the cost side, we control spending through vacancy management, but like many others, we face pressures from inflation, higher utility rates, and increased repair and maintenance expenses. Capital funding from the city went towards much-needed facility and system upgrades, setting us up for longer-term efficiency and service improvements. There are several reasons contributing to Real's current financial position. One of the biggest is the timing and seasonality of our events. Our revenue profile is heavily concentrated in certain periods, which creates pressure during the off-seasons. On top of that, we're working with insufficient reserves, which exposes us to unexpected costs or missed opportunities. In some cases, aging infrastructure also contributes to higher maintenance expenses, putting additional pressure on our margins. Looking forward, we've identified some key areas where we can improve. First is cost control, focusing on efficiencies and reducing expenses. Second is revenue diversification. We need to explore new and more consistent sources of income beyond just seasonal events. And finally, we're focused on optimizing margins, ensuring that the events and services we do offer are structured to maximize the return. Better planning and forecasting will help support all three of these goals. While the results for 2024 reflect significant challenges, they also mirror the current state of a business model we are actively reshaping. The city's financial support this past year was essential. It helped us avoid more serious operational disruptions, and we're deeply grateful for the partnership. Overall, this year-end picture is a call to action and demonstrates that our course correction is underway. We're stabilizing, learning from every event, and building the foundation for a more sustainable future. Oops, sorry, too far.
So the outlook for 2025 is forward-looking and strategic. We're shifting from survival to planning, focusing on doing things better, creating new revenue opportunities, and becoming a more responsive organization. 2025 will be focused on action and transformation. We're building on our new mandate and business model to become more commercially viable. We've already seen some great concerts, including Jelly Roll, Riley Green, Bachman Turner Overdrive, and look forward to Keith Urban and Brian Adams and more. We are confident in the direction ahead as the board continues to work closely with management, exploring strategic initiatives, and refocus the organization on the right business model.
Jamie, I'll just, if you could wrap it up, pretty much out of time.
Sure.
Thanks.
In closing, I want to thank City Council, City Administration, and the Regina community for your continued support. 2024 was not easy, but it was necessary. We are rebuilding, we are evolving, and we are optimistic about the future. With the strength of our team, our partners, in our city, Real's next chapter is already underway. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Thank you all for your presentation. I'll look to my colleagues to see if there's any questions related to the submission and the annual report. I don't see any, and I think, again, that's a reflection, Jamie, of the excellent work that you and the board are doing. We appreciate the collaboration and working closely with us. Trent, welcome to the organization in your interim role. So thank you again. Appreciate it. You can return to the gallery. We'll now consider item EX 2543, 2024 annual submittal, Regina Exhibition Associated Limited. Can I have CFO Deputy City Manager Darren Anderson please introduce the report? Please go ahead.
Thank you, and through the chair. The City of Regina submits the 2024 annual report of its service partner, the Regina Exhibition Association Limited, or REAL. Under the unanimous membership agreement between the City and REAL, REAL is required to provide an annual report to City Council. Administration requires delegated authority from City Council to exercise the City's voting rights at REAL's annual general meeting in accordance with the direction provided by City Council. You have heard a presentation from the organization detailing their annual report and financial results. We submit for approval.
Thank you very much. I'll look to someone to move the report, please. Councillor Turnbull, do you wish to speak to the report?
Thank you for being here and just going with it and all of your work you've done in the past little bit. I know there's been a lot for REAL, and I really appreciate your commitment and your time, especially to the board who does not get paid and who spends endless hours on the task of doing this for our city. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any questions from members for administration at this time? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to start the vote. Councillor Masnelli? All right.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, the motion is carried with all members present voting in favor.
I think we committed to have the fastest executive committee meeting ever as my last turn as deputy mayor, so thanks for that. No, all jokes aside, thanks everybody. We're going to move to adjourn. I just want to indicate for the record that we'll break for lunch till 12:45, at which point the mayor will convene a special council meeting at that time. So we have about 45 minutes, 12:47, let's just say. We'll meet back in here. Thank you to all the delegates for your presentations today. Thank you to administration. We'll see you in about 45 minutes. We need a motion to adjourn. Councillor Seeklees? Okay, any opposed? Lunchtime.